Dumb move, Hamas.
Kidnapping as well. They came across, of course, because they managed to do the invasion not just by land, but by sea and also by air in hang gliders. They managed to come into the dance party, the Nova Party, where thousands of young people were dancing in the early morning. And there's a debate about whether or not the terrorists knew that they were going to get this really easy pickings of unarmed young people dancing in the morning. But whether it was luck or design, they managed to get to the party and came in on military jeeps and trucks and motorcycles and started massacring their way through the young people in the early hours of the morning. There were a lot of questions I asked about what went wrong on the Israeli side. And there's a lot to find out about, and some of the answers I think I've come to. But although many people in their homes who I spoke to in the hospitals and in the communities in the aftermath of the 7th said the same thing to me, the thing they said was that they'd told their children as they were hiding in the bomb shelters, as their homes were on fire and they could hear people at the door trying to break in. They said that they'd told their children, don't worry, the army will be here in moments.
Mm-hmm. Dang. That's what you'd think, wouldn't it? That'd be what you think, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Everyone catch that? So they're hiding in these. They're in the shelters, and everywhere you go, there are safe rooms all over the place. There are safe rooms everywhere, and the safe rooms. It's interesting. Even in the big buildings, there are safe rooms that are. They're designed so that even if the building is being blown up and stuff, the safe rooms will remain intact. They're built into the structure in that way. So you think something goes wrong, run into the safe room. They got them everywhere. And so parents were in there with their kids in the safe room, and people are trying to smash down the doors and stuff like that. Because keep in mind, you can get into a safe room. It just takes you a while. It will just take you a while. You can get into a safe room. They're in there and thinking, hey, don't worry. They're telling their kids, don't worry, kids. The military will come here. We'll be here in a second. That's what you would think. And didn't work like that for everyone.
Didn't work because also while they were attacking the communities, other terrorists were also spreading out, attacking from multiple different directions and directly attacking military bases as well. So one community is in one of the communities and is going from door to door to massacre civilians. Mm-hmm. The others are spending their time at the party field and hunting down, capturing, or brutally massacring the civilian partygoers, while another group is going and fighting directly with the soldiers at the military base. Mm-hmm. So the soldiers are then suddenly on complete red alert all over the nation, trying to help specific military locations out, and can no longer go and handle the civilians that are being targeted. It all happened way too fast.
Yeah. So the idea is, if you're in a little community and all of a sudden some jihadis show up and start attacking, you think, well, there's a military base that's 5 miles from here, so it'll just be a matter of minutes before the military shows up to rescue us, because you don't know that it's thousands of guys. You don't know that it's thousands of people and that they are attacking a ton of different places. You think, a couple jihadis got over the fence and they're attacking us. No problem. The military will be here in a couple minutes. You don't know that military base they're hiding on the military base as well. Like the people on the military base are hiding as well, because they've got 10 people on this little military base because it's a holiday and so on. They got 10 people there and they've been attacked by 150 jihadis. And so you think the cavalry showing up within minutes, and they don't show up for hours and hours and hours. Rough stuff. And matter of fact, when we were there, we saw those safe rooms. They were just riddled with bullet holes.
Yeah.
These guys so they could get in. Rough stuff.
And it wasn't. But it didn't fail entirely. there were some army in the area who put up a very good fight. And some of the army managed to get down fast. Some elite units managed to get to the south swiftly, had very, very intense firefights. But one of the other things that happened was that there were a lot of people who I described, Arab, Druze, Jews, Israelis, who were what I call self-starters, just people who realized that everything was going wrong. The country had been invaded. It was war. And who, through some extraordinary mettle or insight or whatever, sometimes just information, somebody who happened to know somebody in one of the communities in the south who was saying, you know, we're on fire, would just hurtle to the scene and save lives. And that's why I say that the morning of the 7th was a story of catastrophic evil from Hamas and Islamic Jihad, and indeed the Gazan civilians who came in to join in the raping and the stealing and the kidnapping. By the end of the day, 1,200 Israelis were dead, many, many more injured, and 250 taken hostage into Gaza.
The hostages. People forget about the hostages for some reason.
Proportion of population, if people were to extrapolate that out to America, it would be about 44,000 Americans killed in one day.
Well, the hostage situation is also...
And 10,000 Americans taken hostage.
Right.
That's by proportion of population, if you extrapolate it out. It'd be 10...
What do you say, 44,000? So guys, it's 1,200 people, but Israel's a tiny, tiny country. And so 1,200 people is a certain portion of the population. If you were to keep the same proportion in America, he said it would be like 44,000 Americans being killed and 10,000 being taken hostage. Imagine a place like let's say like Mexico and stuff, storms across the border. If you wanted a parallel situation, imagine Mexicans storming the border, or Canadians or something like that, storming the border, killing 44,000 people, taking 10,000 hostages, retreating back to Canada or Mexico or whatever, and most of the population trying to help you evade detection. What do you do in that situation? Well, apparently you're just supposed to do nothing, because if you go and try to get your people back and they're in if you wanted an actual parallel, imagine guys storm across the border of the U.S., kill 44,000 people, take 10,000 hostages, run and hide in a series of tunnels and so on. And these tunnels are underneath, schools and houses and hospitals and so on. And you're there and you're leaving the civilian population who are on your side, most of whom are on your side. And you have to go and try and get your people back in that sort of environment. That's what the situation would be. And what are you supposed to do? Apparently nothing, according to most people. You're just supposed to surrender instantly. You're supposed to surrender. If that happens to you, you're not supposed to go get your people back. You're supposed to surrender. That's what was required of Israel. Under no circumstances do you go fight and get your people back.
1,000 Americans being dragged out of their homes and taken into enemy territory by terrorists. But the story was, first of all, of the evils that Hamas committed that day. Secondly, in the suffering that they imposed. Secondly, of course, the failure of much of the security apparatus in Israel, from which lessons will have to be learned, and not just by Israel, but by her allies. But thirdly, as I say, it's also the story of extraordinary people rising to this terrible moment and doing unbelievably heroic things. I tell a lot of the stories of people, for instance, there's somebody who's become a friend called Nimrod, who hurtled south in his car. He had been in the army, was called back.
Hold up, there's still people named Nimrod? Did you hear that? He was talking about a dude named Nimrod.
He was?
That's a guy in the Bible, but I guess it's different over there. Here, it's like an insult. It's like idiot. You say, shut up, Nimrod. Apparently, it's still a name over there. That's interesting.
Powerful.
Base by his commander. But by that point, Nimrod was driving south, and he managed to pick up a gun on the way, a single revolver with, I think, 8 rounds of ammunition. went through every military checkpoint and just, he said he didn't see a live Israeli till the early afternoon. But when he did, he fought and killed many terrorists.
Dang.
There are other people, like there was a young man at the party I mentioned.
Guy found a gun. Guy found a gun and went and drove down there and fought these guys.
Book, whose girlfriend I met, who had realized the situation, managed to get a car out of the party. The terrorists were massacring everyone as they came out by car. So they were shooting the cars, so then there was a log jam. But this young man managed to find a way out on another route. And he took 4 or 5 young people in the car, drove them 30 minutes, dropped them off, came back, took another car full of young people, drove again, took them back. Every time they said to him, don't go back again, it's hell, it's death. But he kept doing it. And then the last time he did it, he was killed.
You hear that? It is healthy to focus on good things in the midst of really messed up stuff going on. Like, hey, look at all this messed up stuff going on. But look at some of these heroes who have achieved legendary status for the stuff they did.
But there are lots of terrible stories from the day that I recount. But as I say, it also seems to me to be important to credit the people who survived and who didn't, who showed unbelievable heroism.
It didn't really surprise me, I suppose, that there were security lapses. I mean, if you're dealing with an enemy that's absolutely committed, the probability that over some long span of time, they're going to find a way through your defenses.
Yeah.
How is that not 100% if everything isn't locked down and there's any semblance of freedom whatsoever?
Yeah.
So the explanation you offered about the mythical status of Israeli invulnerability seems to me to be the most effective explanation.
That and one other thing, which was what was known as the conception, which I spoke about with military and other political leaders. It's a very interesting thing, this. The conception was effectively, it was obviously...
AP, while you were gone,
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson was pointing out that if you have a bunch of enemies right across the other side of the fence and they're absolutely obsessed with getting at you, it's kind of a matter of time before they figure out a way to break through. I guess especially since they're being showered with billions. He didn't point this out, but they will talk about this later. Especially since they're being showered with billions of dollars and you have all sorts of weapons and so on being funneled to them and so on. It's kind of if all that's between you is a fence, it's kind of a matter of time before guys figure out a way to circumvent this. So Jordan Peterson pointed that out, and then Douglas Murray said there's something else here. It's called the conception. But you're asked by Android, sent by CyberLife, AP, when's your rap album dropping? You should get cornrows next time.
Soon.
Okay, soon. His album. Who is AP coming soon?
Soon.
Right.
The thing is also, on October 7, what happened on October 7 came very, very much through the fundings of by certain countries such as Iran and also Qatar. And right now we're talking about Qatar giving us, Donald Trump, a huge gift, a plane, which is a very, very interesting twist of things to happen.
It's extremely interesting. Like, what does Donald Trump need with a plane, right? I mean, he used to own his own entire airline, Trump Airlines, and so on. He's already got Air Force One. So I'm guessing it's, hey, we got the new, most tricked out plane, and we're going to give it to you as if there are no strings attached. And Trump's like, oh, well, cool. I'm really making a difference. People who love me. They love me so much. They're giving me free things. They're giving me planes. They're giving me all the planes. It's the best plane. Whereas other people are like, come on.
It's Qatar, disgrace.
Qatar knows what it's doing when it gives these awesome gifts. And you see it on college campuses. You see it on college campuses that Qatar has showered with money. What happens with the administrations on these places? It's actually been shown. Qatar will shower a university with money, and then you can look at the papers that are being put out by the people at the university. Suddenly, they end up on one side of the ideological spectrum. It's very interesting. Very interesting. So smart, Qatar, smart, but evil. Evil.
Yeah.
Terrible mistake, but was a belief in some of the security infrastructure in Israel, that Hamas were effectively like so many terrorist and radical movements throughout history, that they had been misgoverning the Gaza effectively since Israel withdrew in 2005, but they'd stolen billions of dollars of international aid.
Yeah.
All the leaders of Hamas were billionaires.
Billionaires.
Thanks to the Canadian, American, European,
Yes,
British
bully for
taxpayers.
us. Seriously.
Well done for us.
Yeah,
for
that's
our
for sure.
great use
Really,
of our
really quite
taxpayer-
something.
Taxpayer funds. The
Did you hear this? They're really clearly just ticked off about this. All the leaders of Hamas were billionaires by this time. Why? Because we keep sending them piles and piles and piles of money to help the poor people of Gaza. What happens? You send it to Hamas, and their leaders become billionaires. They keep their kids out of there. Their kids are living in places like Qatar and so on, and they're riding around in Bugattis and so on. And that's where the actual aid money goes. You send piles of money because you want to help the poor Palestinians and so on. Meanwhile, these guys are pocketing it and they're becoming billionaires. And these guys are just like, "Are you serious?" That's how stupid you Western nations are. You're giving money to make terrorists billionaires, and you think you're doing a good job. What's up?
Here's what's interesting. Here's what's funny. So Israel was already supplying Gaza with a lot of their needs for free. Aside from Israel giving them stuff for free, the nations of the world were all the time responding to the beggary and sending all kinds of funds over to them and giving them whatever they want for free. The leaders of Hamas, they had so much of the supplies that were being sent over to the so-called Palestinian victims that they were filling their own pockets, but also giving so much money to their to the people to live in an okay life. The funny thing that people don't know is that before October 7th, before the war started, the unemployment rate in Gaza was like around 50% or so. Around 50%. Despite that, the living standards in Gaza were better than Lebanon, for example, which is a free country. We're better than half the nations in the world. Far better than South Africa, for example, which is very ironic. Which was the first country to kind of try to get Israel in trouble.
So hold on, hang on. You're saying that the situation for Palestinians was already better than lots of other places in the world.
Yeah.
But we're sending piles of money to them anyway.
Yeah.
And it's going to Hamas and filling their pockets.
Yes. So they were
smart.
They were getting used to. So the population doesn't work because the leaders just beg, and they get so much money that the leaders are billionaires. The operatives build massive tunnels from where they conduct military operations, and the population lives in comfort. But the idiots around the world think, "Oh no, the Palestinians need help. Let's send money."
Because they're told that. They're told that.
Yeah.
Especially like in college and so on. Hey, help these poor people. Help these poor people. Help you. I have to say, this has been like in terms of like marketing the idea that you're selling and so on. They've done a phenomenal job at that. And really, I mean, that was actually part of the plan of like Yasser Arafat. Hey, let's change this narrative from being a fight between like Arabs who want to destroy Jews to poor persecuted people group called the Palestinians who were here in our country before Israel came and stole the land. Once you completely fabricate that narrative, you just make it up. If you can actually sell that to the world, get the world to believe Israel just showed up, pushed poor people off their land, and now these poor people are just, they're there starving and so on unless you help them. If you can actually sell that narrative, you can become a billionaire. Yasser Arafat died a billionaire, ladies and gentlemen. He found a way to monetize that entire situation. And they're still milking it. They're still milking it. And what's going on right now? The entire world, please raise money, please raise money. Where are you going to send it? To Hamas? Great. Super base plan. Gosh, people are stupid.
The very funny thing is that right now, they have been arguing forever now that people in Gaza are starving. The thing is, the current situation is actually not that the people in Gaza are starving, but that they may be on the brink of a starvation crisis if the situation is not fixed or restored right now. But you will hear everywhere all the time, all the people of Gaza are starving. They're starving. They have nothing left to eat, no food left. We have to help them. And people are actually sending money over there.
Yeah, you see that video that I saw a video yesterday where a guy was like eating leaves, just like regular leaves off the ground. He's like, oh, it's so starving, but he looks like completely healthy and fit.
Yeah.
And then other people are posting these videos about what it's like in the shopping center and stuff, and how awesome it is, and everything's loaded and stuff. And they're sitting there eating a cake, and they're simultaneously posting videos about how awesome it is there, and posting videos about how they're forced to eat leaves because they're starving.